The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas.
Chapter 1. The Artagnan. In 1925, fighting was common in France. Nobles fought among themselves, and Spain was always ready to wage war with France. Few days passed without trouble somewhere. On an April morning of that year, a crowd had gathered outside the inn in the town of Meung. The cause of all this stir was the arrival of a young man on a comical horse. The young man was called D'Artagnan. He was on his way to Paris to fulfill his dearest wish to become a king's musketeer. His father had given him a letter to Monsieur de Treville, an old friend who was now captain of the musketeer. As he dismounted, D'Artagnan saw a gentleman with a scar on his temple sitting at the window of the inn. He was talking to two other men, and all three were laughing. "Are you laughing at me?" challenged D'Artagnan, drawing his sword. "I like as I please," the man replied, turning away from the window and reappearing in the doorway. D'Artagnan lunged at him, startled. The other man drew his sword. The innkeeper and several onlookers, anxious to prevent a fight, fell upon D'Artagnan. He was knocked out and had to be taken inside for attention. When the innkeeper returned, the gentleman with the scar asked who the young man was. "I don't know, sir," replied the innkeeper, "but he carries a letter to Monsieur de Treville in Paris." "Oh," said the gentleman, and where's this letter?" "In the young man's doublet, which he left in the kitchen," replied the innkeeper. "Prepare my bill," said the gentleman, rushing off to the kitchen. "I am meeting milady now, and then I must leave." Later, as the Artagnan limped into the courtyard, he saw the gentleman talking to a beautiful woman in carriage. "You must return to England at once," the gentleman was saying. "Watch the Duke of Buckingham closely, and tell the Cardinal where he left London. I am returning to Paris." The Artagnan rushed forward. "Stand and fight, sir," he demanded. "Would you dare run away in front of a woman?" Milady touched her companion's arm. "Remember," she said quietly, "delay could ruin our plans." "Yes," the gentleman agreed. "Let us each go on our way." As the carriage moved off, the gentleman mounted his horse and galloped away in the opposite direction. "Coward!" the Artagnan called after him. As the Artagnan prepared to leave for Paris, he discovered that his letter of introduction was missing. Alarmed, he confronted the innkeeper, who proclaimed his innocence. "The gentleman must have taken it, sir," he said. He showed great, he showed great interest in it. The Artagnan could only hope that Monsieur de Treville would see him without it.
Chapter 2. At Monsieur de Treville's. Monsieur de Treville was a close friend of King Louis XIII. In those troubled times, French ruler needed this brave man at his side. De Treville led the King's Musketeers, a band of blood men dedicated to protecting their king. De Treville's greatest rival for the king's favor was the cunning Cardinal Richelieu, a man nearly as powerful as the king himself. The cardinal had his own company of guards, who were bitter enemies of the musketeers. The two companies' heated battles often ended in death. Monsieur de Treville's headquarters was always full of musketeers. When the afternoon arrived, he made his way through them, his heart beating with excitement. He was allowed in to see Monsieur de Treville, but had to wait. The captain was scolding three of his men. "Athos, Porthos, Aramis, I heard you were fighting in the streets and were arrested by the cardinal guards. This will not do." "But they attack us," the three protest. "We fought back and escaped." "The cardinal didn't tell me that," murmured Monsieur de Treville. but I will not let my men risk their life for nothing. Brave men are dear to the king, and his musketeers are the bravest of them all. Now go, and I will see this young man." Eagerly, the lieutenant introduced himself and told Monsieur de Treville about the stolen letter. He explained that he had come to Paris to join the Musketeers. "I'm afraid that won't be possible until you've proven your worth," said Monsieur de Treville. No one becomes a musketeer without first serving in a lesser regiment. But because I like your father," he went on, "I will do my best to help you. I will send you to the Royal Academy, where you will learn horsemanship and the art of the sport. Then we will see how you get on. You won't be disappointed, I promise you, sir," said the lieutenant, bowing. "Thank you." As he rushed from the captain's headquarters, the lieutenant encountered, one after the other, the three musketeers he had seen with Monsieur de Treville, still smarting from the scolding they had just received. They took off uneasily, and the lieutenant, excited and impatient, managed to upset each of them in turn. He found himself challenging he found himself challenged to three duels that very afternoon. The first with Athos at noon, another with Porthos at 1 o'clock, and a third with Aramis at 2 o'clock. Dismayed, D'Artagnan said to himself, "I can draw back, but if I am killed, at least I shall be killed by a musketeer." Chapter 3. A Surprise Encounter. D'Artagnan knew no one in Paris. He went to meet Athos alone, determined to fight well. But when Athos arrived, he brought the other two musketeers with him. All three were astonished to see that they were to fight the same man. "Now that you are here, gentlemen," the lieutenant said, "I wish to apologize." Oh, at the word apologize, he saw contempt appear in their face. They thought him a coward. His hot blood rose. "You don't understand. I apologize only in case I cannot fight all three of you. Monsieur Athos had the right to kill me first, and now en garde." With the most gallant air possible, D'Artagnan drew his sword. Athos had just drawn his when a company of the cardinal's guards appeared. "Sheathe your swords," called Porthos and Aramis together. But it was too late. "Fighting, musketeers!" cried one of the guards mockingly. "You know that dueling is against the law. Put up your swords. I arrest you in the name of the king." "Never!" called the three musketeers. "There may be only three of us, but we will fight." "You are wrong. There are four of us," said D'Artagnan quietly. "Try me." "And what's your name, brave fellow?" asked Athos. "D'Artagnan, monsieur." "Well then, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan, forward!" Swords clashed and men cried out as they fought fiercely. The guards were good swordsmen, but at last they were beaten off. Afterwards the four returned to Monsieur de Treville's headquarters arm in arm. D'Artagnan's heart swelled with pride. "I am not yet a musketeer," he thought, "but at least I may be an apprentice. apprentice. The incident caused a great fuss. Monsieur de Treville scolded his musketeers in public, but congratulated them in private. The king heard of it, and was so impressed by D'Artagnan's bravery that he placed him as a cadet in the guards of Monsieur Desart. From then on, D'Artagnan and the three musketeers were the greatest of friends. D'Artagnan learned about life in Paris and about the court of King Louis XIII and the lovely Queen Anne. He was happy and looked forward to the day when he, too, would become a musketeer. Chapter 4. A Disappearance. One day, while the lieutenant was resting in his lodgings, his landlord, Monsieur Bonacieux, came up to see him. "I have heard you are a brave young man, lieutenant. I need help. Constance, my wife, has been kidnapped." "Kidnapped!" the lieutenant exclaimed. "My wife is seamstress to the Queen," Monsieur Bonacieux explained. "And she is more than that. She is one of the few people the Queen can trust." The Artagnan had heard a great deal about Queen Anne. Everyone knew that the king no longer loved her, and that she was lonely. The cardinal had once cared for her, but she had rejected him, and he now plotted jealousy against her. The English Duke of Buckingham, a powerful man in the government of his country, had fallen deeply in love with her, but England and France were not on friendly terms. "I think my wife was kidnapped to see if she will tell the Queen's secrets," said Monsieur Bonacieux. "Only the other day she told me that the Queen is frightened. She thinks the Cardinal has written to the Buckingham in her name, to lure him to Paris and into a trap." "You think the Cardinal has taken your wife?" "I fear so," re- repli- replied Monsieur Bonacieux. "One of his men was seen nearby just as she was being abducted. He was a gentleman with a scar on his temple." The Artagnan jumped up. That sounds like the man I met in Mel," he exclaimed. "Will you help me?" Monsieur Bonacieux begged. "You are always with the Musketeers, who are enemies of the Cardinal. I thought you when your friend will be glad to spoil his plan and help the Queen." "I will do what I can," the Doctor promised. And if the man who kidnapped your wife is the man I think he is, I will be avenged for what happened to me in Mel." The D'Artagnan lost no time in telling Athos, Porthos, and Aramis of the disappearance of Constance Bonacieux. "I am also anxious about the Queen's safety," he told them. "I have heard people say the Queen loves our enemy, the Spanish and the English," said Athos. "Spain is her native country," D'Artagnan reminded him. "It is only natural that she should love the Spanish. As for the English, only one Englishman is involved, Buckingham. Chief Minister to the King of England admires her greatly. The Cardinal and his men seem to be using this admiration in some wicked plot against the Queen." The four friends knew that they had to try and spoil the Cardinal's plans, and that the mysterious kidnapping of Constance Bonacieux was the key to the whole intrigue. She must be found, and they would look for her together." The four men stretched out their hands and shouted in one voice, "All for one and one for all." Chapter 5. A Secret Meeting. The D'Artagnan's task was to keep watch on Monsieur Bonacieux's apartments from his own room on the upper floor. Monsieur Bonacieux had been arrested, and the cardinal guards were now using his house as a trap. Anyone arriving there was taken away from questioning, to see what they knew of the Queen's affairs. Late one night, D'Artagnan heard cries from downstairs. Realizing it was a woman's voice, he drew his sword and rushed down to help. The woman was Constance Bonacieux herself. She had escaped and returned home, unaware that the cardinal's men were keeping watch on the house. Now they were trying to force her to talk. The D'Artagnan's attack so surprised the guards that they ran off, leaving to his safekeeping the grateful Constance Bonacieux. "Thank you for saving me," she cried. "Now I must go. There is something I must do for the Queen." A few hours later, A few hours later, D'Artagnan was astonished to see her in a dark street with a musketeer. What were they doing? D'Artagnan hurried to speak to them, and found the man was a stranger disguised in a musketeer's uniform. The stranger turned out to be the Duke of Buckingham, and Constance Bonancheux was taking him to a secret meeting with the Queen at the Louvre. "Please don't give us away," she begged D'Artagnan. "You can ruin us all." D'Artagnan shook the Duke's hand. "I will see that you reach the Louvre safely," he promised. At the Louvre, Madame Bonacieux led the Duke into a quiet drawing room where he could speak privately to the Queen. Buckingham had come to Paris in response to a message. On his arrival, he had learned that this message was in fact a trap set by the Cardinal. Although the Duke knew he was in danger, he refused to return to London without seeing the Queen. He waited, unafraid, while Constance Bonacieux broke her mistress to see him. When the Queen arrived, her lovely face was pale with worry. She begged the Duke to return to England and made him promise not to see her secretly again. It was too dangerous. "Come as an ambassador, with guards to defend you," she said. "Then you will be safe." Very well," Buckingham agreed. "But please give me something of yours, so that I may wear it until I see you again." Queen Anne went into her chamber and quickly returned with a rosewood casket. "Here," she said, giving the casket to the Duke. "Take this and go before it is too late." Chapter 6. The Cardinal's Plan. Unknown to the Queen, Cardinal Richelieu soon learned of her meeting with Buckingham. The news was brought to him by the Comte de Rochefort, the very man who had so annoyed D'Artagnan in Meung. As an ally of the Cardinal, he had placed a spy in the Queen's household. The Queen and Buckingham met bravely. He told the Cardinal he has already left for England. "Then our plan has failed," said the Cardinal angrily. The Queen gave Buckingham a gift. Rochefort went on. "It was a box containing 12 diamond studs, which the King had given her as a birthday gift." The Cardinal smiled slyly. "Then all is not lost," he said. He sat down and wrote a letter, then sent for a servant. "Take this to London at once," he ordered. The letter said, "Milady de Winter, be at the first ball that Buckingham attends. He will wear on his doublet 12 diamond studs. Cut off 2 of these. As soon as you have them, inform me." Next, the Cardinal told King Louis XIII that Buckingham had called on the Queen in secret. The King demanded to know the reason for Buckingham's visit. "No doubt to conspire with your enemies," replied the Cardinal. "He came to see the Queen," insisted the King furiously. "I am unwilling to think so," said the Cardinal. He was anxious to appear loyal to the Queen, but still wanted to fool the King's suspicions. "However, I have been told that she cried this morning, and has spent the day writing letters." "I must have those letters," cried the King. He immediately sent his councillor to search the Queen's room, but the only letters he found were to the Queen's brother. The Queen was furious at the attack on her honor. The King was remorseful. "I had no cause to be angry with the Queen," he told the Cardinal. "I hope she will forgive me." "Perhaps if you did something to please her," advised the Cardinal, her heart will soften towards you. "Why not give a ball in her honor? You know how the Queen loves dancing. and it will be a chance for her to wear those beautiful diamonds you gave her for her birthday." The queen was surprised and happy when she was told about the ball, and after some persuasion she did forgive her husband. Eagerly she asked when the ball would be held. "Cardinal Richelieu is arranging everything," the king told her, but every day for more than a week the cardinal made some excuse for not setting the date. On the eighth day the cardinal received a letter from Milady de Winter in London. It read, "I have them. Send money and I will bring them to Paris." The cardinal knew that Milady could be there in 10 to 12 days. Content that his plans were going well, he spoke to the king about the ball. "Today is the 20th day of September," he said. "The ball will take place in the Hotel de Ville on the 3rd day of October. Do not forget, sire, to remind the queen to wear the diamond studs." The queen was delighted when Louis told her that the ball would soon take place. But her delight turned to shock and fear when he said, "I wish you to appear in your most beautiful gown, wearing the diamond studs I gave you." "When is the ball?" she asked quickly. "The cardinal has arranged it for 12 days from today," replied the king. Hearing the cardinal mentioned, Queen Anne grew pale. Was it also his idea that I should wear the diamond studs?" she asked. "What if it was?" demanded the king. "Do I ask too much?" The queen shook her head. "No, sire," she said softly. "Then you will appear as I ask?" "Yes, sire." As soon as the king had gone, Queen Anne sank into a chair. "I am lost," she murmured. "The cardinal must know everything. What am I to do?" And she began to weep. "Don't cry, your majesty." The queen turned sharply, for she had thought she was alone. In the doorway stood Constance Bonentieux, who had heard every word of the king and queen's conversation. "Don't be afraid," she told the queen. "I promise you that we will get those diamonds back in time for the ball." Chapter 7. The Journey. Constance Bonentieux knew only one person who could help, D'Artagnan. Knowing he would not betray the queen, she told him everything that had happened. "I will go to London at once," he promised her. D'Artagnan immediately asked Monsieur de Treville to arrange a leave of absence for him. "I must go to London," he explained. "I am on a secret mission for the queen." Monsieur de Treville looked at him sharply. "Will anyone try to stop you?" he asked. "The cardinal would, if he knew," D'Artagnan admitted. "Then you must not go alone," said Monsieur de Treville. "Athos, Porthos, and Aramis will go with you. Then surely one of you at least will get through to London." The four adventurers left Paris at 2 o'clock in the morning. They expect ambushes, ambushes, ambushes on every side. All went well until after sunrise, when they reached Cantilly. The four men stopped at an inn for breakfast. After the meal, a stranger asked Porthos to drink the cardinal's health. Porthos agreed. If the strangers would then drink the king's health, the stranger showed that he would drink to no one but the cardinal. A bitter argument followed. Leaving Porthos to settle it, the others hurried on their way. The others hurried on their way. Several hours later, they saw some men mending the road. As they drew near, the workmen drew out muskets. "It's an ambush!" cried D'Artagnan. "Ride on!" They spurred their horses forward, but Aramis was wounded in the shoulder and could go no further. Athos and D'Artagnan left him to be looked after at a village inn. Only D'Artagnan and Athos were left now. They rode on, and at nightfall took a room at Amiens. The night passed quietly, but when Athos went to pay the bill in the morning, the landlord accused him of using forged money. For Armand Russian they had obviously been lying in wait. "Ride on, D'Artagnan!" shouted Athos, his sword drawn and ready for the fight. D'Artagnan galloped on and at last reached the port of Calais. On the quay a gentleman was asking a ship's captain to take him to England. The captain explained that the ship was ready, but the cardinal issued had just issued an order. No ship was to leave the port without his permission. "I already have the cardinal's permission," the gentleman said, showing the captain a paper. "Will you take me?" The captain agreed, but insisted that the pass had to be signed by the port governor. Hearing this, D'Artagnan hurried away and waited for the gentleman to come back with the signed pass. Naturally, the gentleman refused to give up the pass, and D'Artagnan had to fight him for it. At last the man gave in and handed over the precious piece of paper. Breathing hard, D'Artagnan thrust the pass into his pocket and went to find a ship to take him to England. And went to find a ship to take him to England. Chapter 8. The Queen's Diamonds. D'Artagnan boarded the ship just in time. They had scarcely left harbor when a cannon boomed out, signaling that the port was closed. Worn out, D'Artagnan slept while the ship crossed the channel. In the morning he watched as they dropped anchor in Dover. Soon he was on his way to London. The young Frenchman knew no English, but he had the Duke of Buckingham's name on a piece of paper. Everyone in London knew of the Duke, and D'Artagnan was soon shown the way to his home. The Duke, who remembered D'Artagnan from their meeting in Paris, saw him at once. His face became grave when D'Artagnan told him of the Queen's danger. "We must return the diamond studs to her without delay," he exclaimed. "Louis must not find out that she gave them to me." Taking a key from the chain he wore round his neck, the Duke unlocked the box in which the diamonds lay. As he lifted them out, he gave a startled cry. "Two are missing! Can you have lost them, my lord? Can you have lost them, my lord?" D'Artagnan asked. "Never!" the Duke exclaimed. He showed D'Artagnan where the ribbon holding the missing studs had been cut. "Wait, wait!" said the Duke suddenly. "I remember now. I wore them only once, at the ball in London. Milady de Winter was there. She has never liked me. But that evening she was unusually friendly. I wondered why. It is she who must have taken them. She must be an agent of the cardinal. How could I have been so foolish?" He paced up and down, thinking hard. The king's ball was in 5 days' time. If Queen Anne appeared with two of the diamond studs missing, the king's anger would be terrible, and the cardinal would have succeed. Buckingham stopped suddenly and turned to D'Artagnan. "I know what we must do," he exclaimed. Buckingham issued an immediate order. No ship were to sail for France, for he believed Milady de Winter was still in London. Such was his importance in the government that the order was carried out without question. Next the Duke called for his jeweler and showed him the set of diamond studs. He promised to pay the man well to make two studs exactly like them, to be finished within 2 days. The jeweler agreed, and hurried away to start work. "We are not yet beaten, D'Artagnan," cried the duke. 2 days later the new studs were ready. The jeweler had done well. It was impossible to tell that they were not part of the original set. Now D'Artagnan could live for France. Could live for France. As his ship left Dover, he saw Milady de Winter aboard one of the one of the vessels that had been stranded there. But his ship passed so quickly that he caught little more than a glimpse of her. Once across the channel, D'Artagnan set off for Paris as quickly as he could. Chapter 9. The Ball. Paris was full of talk about the ball, at which the king and queen would lead the dancing. More than a week had been spent decorating the Hotel de Ville with flowers and hundreds of candles. The king arrived to the cheers of the watching crowds. Soon afterwards, the queen entered the ballroom. The cardinal, watching from behind a curtain, smiled in triumph. She was not wearing the diamond studs. He was quick to point this out to the king. "Madam, why are you not wearing the diamond studs?" the king demanded. The queen looked round and saw the cardinal looking slyly at her. "Sire," she said to her husband, "I was afraid they would come to harm in this crowd, but I will do as you ask, and send for them." While the queen waited with her ladies in a side room, the cardinal gave the king the box containing the two studs Milady de Winter had stolen from Buckingham. "Ask the queen where these have come from," he suggested. But his triumph turned to rage when the queen reappeared, proudly wearing all 12 diamond studs. "What does this mean?" demanded the king, pointing to the studs the cardinal had given him. The cardinal talked quickly. "I wish her majesty to have them as a present," he said, not daring to offer them myself. I adopted this plan." "I must thank you, your eminence," said the queen. Her smile showed her smile showed that she understood the cardinal's plot completely. "I am sure these two must have cost you as as, as much as all the others cost the king." D'Artagnan watched the queen triumph over the cardinal. Apart from the king, the cardinal, and the queen herself, he was the only one in the crowded ballroom who knew what had taken place. Later, the queen sent for him. She thanked him and gave him a diamond ring. D'Artagnan put it on and returned to the ball, feeling well contented. He was in favor with the king and Monsieur de Treville, and he had helped his queen when she most needed it. Above all, he had gained the friendship of three brave men, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, and one day he would join them as a king's musketeer. The end.